Welcome to today's live stream. I actually forgot to put the reference photo for this live stream up, so if you're going to draw along with me today, which I don't think there's anybody here. So if you're going to draw along with me today, hopefully you'll just get a chance to see the live stream later when there's actually a picture that you can reference. But I'm going to start drawing anyway. I think I'm gonna start by framing out a little bit of my paper here. I like to have a frame to work with. It helps me with my proportions a little bit. I'm just gonna set in a quick frame here. I think I want you to be about this size. Oops. Got my line wrong there. Alright, that looks like a good frame. Now I'm going to start with my 2H pencil. And I think I'm just going to start filling in a couple of lines for my background. I think that'll help me get my honeybee proportions right. Not a honeybee, I suppose. He's a bumblebee. He's a little bumblebee, not a honeybee. Bumblebees are much, much bigger than honeybees. So big, in fact, that they generate enough body heat that they can keep collecting pollen well into the winter. Not well into the winter, I suppose, but before the frost. When it gets colder, they can collect honey for longer than other bees because they're so big and generate so much heat. Let's see, I'm going to put a swoosh. I'm just kind of outlining a little bit of leaf pattern here, just to sort of give myself a frame of reference to work with before I start on my bumblebee guy. I'm going to start with a circle for that flower. That's actually a honeyvine milkweed flower, what we're looking at here in this picture. And I'm just going to draw in some quick lines for now. I just want a reference point for my bumblebee here. Another little flower right there, and this little flower right there. Alright, I think that's good proportions for our overall bumblebee here. This flower goes a little bit bigger, I think. We'll add some little flowers to that circle at some point, but I'm going to get started on my bee here first. Now, in order to get the proportions of my bee right, I'm going to make sure to use the proportions of the leaves that I've created to create his body here. And I'm going to start with his, I think it's a thorax. It's his little tail end, I suppose. And I'm going to start with, I think, this sort of a rectangle shape for his little thorax there. And then I think I'm going to do this sort of pizza pie shaped slice right here for his main section. I don't know what that's called. I should have known more bee anatomy. But I actually decided very purposefully a little oval for his head. I think a little ovalier. I decided very purposefully not to look up any anatomy for this bumblebee because I want to try and draw quicker and more loosely and without as much of a, what's it called? An eye for precision. I get a little bogged down in details. So now I'm just going to go through and make sure I like these shapes for now, and they look pretty good shape-wise. Start putting in some of these little legs here. Alright, I forgot this section of leaf, so I'm gonna pop that in really quick here. Whoosh, leaf section. All right, because his little leg starts about midway down his body. I'm going to start with a rectangle for this first piece, and then sort of an oval, a tapery oval for the second piece, and that hits up under the leaf, so that's where that leg's going to disappear. Alright, now I'm going to put in this other back leg. I think it starts probably in the same general area. I'm going to start with this rectangle right here for the first part of his leg, and then the second part of his leg swooshes back and ends well past his body there, just like this. And it looks like my stem here is a little off compared to the proportion, so I'm going to move my stem over a little bit so that I can just floof his toe back there, because his toe just clings to the bottom of the leaf right there by a little hook. There we go. Alright, so that's that leg. Now let's get this middle leg. I'm having a hard time deciding where it starts. Oh, I've got something wrong with my stream here. I do not know how to do that. What do I need to do? I've got some streaming issues here. Hold on, you guys. Gotta figure out how to fix that. Oh no, having some streaming problems. Man, do I not know how to fix this. I actually don't know how to fix this. So I'm sorry if you guys are experiencing buffering because my stream is not doing well. I don't know. I don't know how to fix this at all. I guess it's my internet. Weird. Well, hopefully you guys don't experience too much buffering. I'm just gonna keep going on. If this ends up being terrible, let me know in the comments or on my Discord, and I will make sure to put it up as a regular video, or I'll put it up on my website so that you can get to it. But I'm going to continue on for now, and hopefully this stream ends up working out. Alright, now I'm going to put in his second leg. I think it starts right, or I guess this is his third leg that I'm working on. It starts about right there. Another little rectangle right there. And then this foot floofs up into this flower here. Just like this. And there's his little claw. I don't know if it's a claw or a toe. I'm not actually very sure. Alright, now it goes up like this. These 2 feet are very, what's the word? Interjoined. Like I'm having a hard time telling them apart. So I'm just gonna do my best here. There's one, and then there's another one that starts back here, I believe, and then angles up like this, and then swooshes back down to hook up like that. Alright, now I don't like his face now, it's at the wrong angle, but I'll fix that here in a minute. I'm going to add in his little wing joint, which starts right here and goes straight back like this. He's got 2 little wings back here that are very hard to see from the angle that we've got him at right now. And now I'm going to fix his little face because it's looking down toward his feet right now. And I want it looking more up toward this flower. I'm going to put it up like this. There we go. I like that shape. And connect it down to your body. Add these little, what, mandibles? I don't know what this little place is right there. But I like that shape. So I'm gonna keep it. Adding your big giant bee eye. There we go. You make your head a little bigger right there. And then I'm going to add in these cute little antennae. Okay, this antennae starts... I think I didn't even make his eye big enough. His eyes are so big. Alright, this one starts here. And I believe it just goes sort of swooping off like this into a tiny hair. There we go. And then the second one starts over here and it goes up over the first one like that and then swooshes out even farther from that first one. There we go. I think that's a pretty good basic shape. Now we can start doing some fun shading. Some nice fun shading. Oh, my favorite snail friend showed up. Thank you, favorite snail friend. I'll leave a comment with an exclamation point for emphasis. Yay! Oh, I love it when people come. Alright, so now I've got my basic outline of my bee. I am going to start doing a little bit of shading here. What do I got, a 5? I think I'll start with a 2. Start with a 2 for shading. And if it works, sorry while I sharpen this pencil. Hopefully my stream's not being too glitchy, but I am recording this, so. Alright, now I'm gonna start just sort of outlining some of his cute fuzzies. He's got a nice cute fuzzy here on his belly, and then some not striding, I guess, some just like wrapped around lines right here on his abdomen. And I'm gonna start adding in some little fuzzy outlines, just because I like that. I like how fuzzy this little bee is. And I've already got a shape that I basically like, so I feel pretty comfortable adding in some little fuzzies here. Add in some little fuzzies around his leg. Oh man, I love a fuzzy bee. Now, ideally, his little back fuzzies right here, I think I would make with an eraser. And then I'd darken the surrounding area and then make with the eraser. But I really want to just add them in right here in case we don't get to the background with this whole thing. Alright, so now I'm gonna start paying attention to my values, where I've got shadows and highlights, and I've got a nice little highlight running the length of this little bee abdomen, his little, I really gotta look up terms, I guess. So I'm gonna do my best to create that highlight with a little bit of shading all around where I want it. I'm moving my pencil in like a circular motion. I find that a circle shading gives me a really smooth effect that I appreciate. Alright, I'm gonna try and leave like a very light highlight along each of the lines that I drew right here where you see these curves. I'm gonna try and leave that highlight right next to that line just to give each of those sections a little bit of a pop. Maybe I'm going to take my eraser and redo that line a little bit so you can see it better. Here we go. Now this is a dark part, so I'm going to go pretty dark there. And I'm going to make sure to go around these little cute fuzzies on his belly that I mentioned earlier. There we go. Sorry, not talking too much right now. I'm just shading. Just shading. Alright, where's my little smudge stick? Here you are, buddy. Alright, I'm going to smudge this in a little bit here. Making sure, again, not to go over my highlight. There we go. There's your little torso starting to look in there. Alright, now you've got some black, darker black fuzz right there. Fuzzy, fuzzy bee. Alright. Now I'm going to start adding some very light hair-like lines right here because he's got very light fuzz on this yellow part. So I don't want to do the circle method for this section because I want that texture to stay there. That texture he's got in his little fuzzy parts. So I'm going to just use a little hair-like stroke like this. Just choo, 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 choo. And I'm going to darken this up very, very slowly in a couple of different sections where I see shadow on his little body. Right there. But I'm going to leave most of these spots white for now because as I blend a little bit into this area, I can just draw some of that graphite into that lighter area like that. So it gets a little bit of color starting out here, but it doesn't get overwhelmed with color. We want this to be one of the lightest spots on our bee. And I'll just add a couple more hair-like bits over the top of where I already smudged. When you smudge like that, you're going to lose a lot of your sharp line textures, so you got to go back in and add them back in. There we go. Now I'm going to do a first layer on his little head. His little head is pretty dark, but he's got a great reflection in his eye. So most of our focus, I think, is going to be on getting that eye looking really nice. So I'm going to start there, and I'm going to draw very carefully around this like half circle shaped little highlight I see in his eye. He's got a little highlight, I think, right above his eye that I'm going to try and keep. And then I'm mostly going to do circle shading again for the darkest part of his head here. But I don't want to go too dark because I'm gonna pop his eye out a little bit with an extra dark line. I don't want to lose that pop in my shading here. Line there. Alright, now I'm gonna very carefully with the very tip of my stick smudge this just a little. And then I'm gonna go in with my darker pencil. This is my darkest pencil, and this is an 8B. Oops, I broke it. The leads on the 8Bs are very, very soft and easy to break. And I normally wouldn't go in with this dark of a pencil this early in a drawing, but I know that this is gonna be a super dark spot. So I'm gonna make sure I don't wanna lose the line of that eye. So I'm gonna go in with my super dark pencil and make sure that gorgeous little line around his eye. There we go. Alright, we're gonna leave that for right now. And I think I'm gonna just keep going, shading his little face, these little mouth parts that I'm not exactly sure how they're shaped, so I'm just sort of guesstimating a mandible type shape. And then I'm gonna give you some fuzzies around your head. That. Look how fuzzy you look already. Alright. Now I'm going to make sure I've got these antennae in how I like them. Because I think this guy's a little too low. So I'm going to erase him. And give him another antenna. So I want it to curve out from here. And then go way up here like that. I'm just going to color that in. Oh, I'm still using my 8B pencil. I gotta be careful, I guess. There we go. Luckily his antennas are very, very dark, so I don't have to worry about it too much getting too dark here. And I think this guy goes up a little bit more than what I've got him. I'm gonna make that go up a little bit more and then erase where I didn't like that line. There we go. All right, now I think it's time to start working on these little legs. These little legs. I hope you can see well. I don't think my camera's very good at focusing, but all right. So now I'm gonna focus on this back leg, and it is hiding under a leaf, so it doesn't have any reflection. So I figured I'd start there, cause it, you know, just for the ease, I guess. Take a break from reflections really quick. So I'm gonna mark in his shape of his leg a little better than what I've got. Just alter that a little. There we go. I think I'm still using too dark of a pencil. I'm gonna go back to 2B here really quick. Now this part is the one I really want to pay attention to because he's got such an interesting shape on his back leg here. So I'm gonna swoop this line here, and it looks like you can see a little bit of his toe underneath the leaf. So I'm gonna stick that in there. And then this line swoops way back down to a point way there at the bottom. That looks great. That's a good shape. There we go. I'm just gonna fill that in with some black there. Except still I don't like this corner. I think this guy's a little wider. There we go. And he's got some little bits of fuzzy texture right around the back of this leg. So I'm gonna add that in right here while I'm back here. There we go. See, as I start adding in these dark legs, you can start telling how the color on the body isn't dark enough. But we'll go back in and darken that up after we finish up getting in our first coat here. Now this second back leg has a really lovely highlight all along the top center of the leg. So first I'm gonna make sure I've got my shape in here well. Put that in there. And then this part of the leg rounds off at the top. So I'm gonna make that a little bit rounder. And then this piece curves in like that. Whoosh, like that. And I do like this back section, so I'm gonna leave that back section pretty good. All right, now here comes the part where we get that little highlight in, see if we can preserve that pretty white. All right, so I'm gonna very carefully, starting from the darker edge, I'm gonna fill in a line right along there. And I'm gonna use my 8B pencil again because I don't wanna lose the back line of that leg. And carefully outline this back line of the leg. Don't want to lose that in the body. There we go. And then I'm gonna super carefully put in a tiny more line on this side of the leg. Here we go. Just gonna carefully smoosh that a little bit. Oh yeah, see, that's a good reflection. But I think it curves a little bit down here, so I'm gonna taper it. I'm gonna taper it a little bit upwards. Like that. That's nice. That's nice. I like that. Darken this back edge a little bit, so give it a little more shape to that leg. There we go. That looks great. I like that. All right. Now let's work on this leg. Now an insect has 6 legs, but I can only actually see 5 of them in this photo reference that I'm using. I don't know, I haven't decided if I want to add in, maybe I'll add in another little leg right here just so you can see it. Just so you can see that he's got his 6 legs. Have to add in another bit of flower, I suppose, right there. Little flower bud. Because he's clinging on to some little flower buds, but I haven't added anything in yet, so. Let's quick do that. Let's just quick add in a couple of stems. Right there, and there. Add in a couple of quick shapes for our flower buds here, just so we can get an idea of what this bee is clinging to here. Just some little flower buddy shapes. Just for right now. There we go. That gives a better idea of what he's clinging to. Alright, now let's start with this limb. This limb is mostly black. It's got a little bit of a highlight right here where it touches his body. Add that in there. Just like that. Alright, and he's got a little bit of a highlight on this top middle section of his limb. Let's see, let's lengthen this out a little bit. Make sure we've got a decent little shape there. And this is it looks barely connected. It tapers so finely on that limb. That's a roundy bit. There we go, and there's this tiny little claw, little toe. Alright, now the highlight I'm looking at is right about here. So I'm going to start with that section so I don't forget about it. And then carefully draw around that highlight. Darken you up. Darken you up. There we go. There's my 8B pencil again. Maintaining that line on the underside of the limb. There we go. Add in some little fuzzes. He's got fuzzes going all along the bottom section of here and on either side of this one here. There we go. Now I'm going to fill in this little make-believe arm that I put back here. And I'm going to make that even darker because it's behind him here. But I think I'll put a little highlight right there at the top. A little bit of depth there. Alright, 2 more legs to go, and then we can fill in this wing on Hack. I'm glad you like the fuzzies. Typing fun to draw. Because they are. Fuzzies are fun to draw. I love drawing fuzzy things. I actually recently attempted my first chalk pastel. It was a chalk pastel drawing. I'd never really used the medium before, and I was really curious about it. So I found a video on YouTube, because that's where I go when I'm looking for information, apparently. I found a video on YouTube and I followed along with this lovely man that I can't remember his name now, but if anyone asks me, I'll make sure to look it up. And he drew an apple in his chalk pastels, and I followed along, and it was a lot of fun. I love following along to videos of a new medium that I've never seen before, or that I've never worked with before. I suppose I've seen chalk pastels before, but the point to this ramble is that it was a really great medium for fuzziness. Like, I really love the fuzzy texture of the medium, and I really want to draw like a bumblebee or a caterpillar or a butterfly in chalk pastels. I think that would be super fun. Alright. So I'm going to have to try that in the future, I guess. I almost forgot this last little highlight on this back leg here. Better carefully draw around that. Here we go. You're all the way black. There we go. So there's that leg. And he's got some, it looks like some fuzzy black fur back here too. Add that in right there. And then this last leg is coming from behind here. I'm gonna make that extra dark again because it's behind him there. What am I using? 8? All right, cool. Extra dark as that head's behind his other leg. You gotta be careful when you're using black like this because you draw in his leg black and all of a sudden there's nowhere darker to go. So you gotta be careful where you use your darkest blacks. Alright, so this leg ends there and then ends in his tiny little hook toe. Oh, look at those legs, so cute. I think you're a little too curvy. There you go. Alright. Add some leg fuzzies right there, and a couple right there. Make sure you look your fuzzy best, my friend. A couple right there. There you go. Alright. Now, the last thing on this first layer of color is this little wing. He's got, I can barely see both of his wings. I think I'm going to erase this shape so I can add in this little hint of a second wing that I can see just behind here. And it's so faint and it's very gray because it's see-through, I suppose, translucent. So I don't want it to be very dark, so I'm just going to carefully smudge the outline that I made. Now we got to find this other wing. You can see the leaf in between there. This other wing, and it goes back a little further here. I think this one goes back a little further too. Try and get a straight line there. Got a little, I tried too much to orient it toward how I drew the background, and my background wasn't very carefully drawn. So I'm just gonna redo this here a little bit. There we go. Now I'm gonna get that wing joint in here. It's a little roundy shape. And he's got, I'm not sure if it's a highlight or if I'm seeing yellow through his thing, but I see a little bit of a highlight, and I'm gonna add it in there for depth, even if it is just where you can see between his wing. Alright, now this part next to his body is the darkest part of the wing, so I'm gonna darken that up there pretty good. But then it sort of fades a little bit as we get back here, and you can see the light through his wing. Just like that. Smoosh you a little bit. Erase this part where I got a little over where I wanted. There we go. I'm not sure I like this stem right here, even though it is actually in the picture. I might just take it out. I think you're a little dark. I'm gonna lighten you up just a bit. There we go. That's a pretty nice looking bee, and we've still got some time left, so I'm gonna make sure he looks fabulous here by giving him some more contrast. Make sure he's got his little light fuzzy bits right there. And then I'm gonna use my 8B pencil and just darken up everywhere I want to be much darker. And that's gonna be his belly here. I'm gonna go back over this area. Now instead of the circles here on this side, I'm going more with the hair texture. When I'm doing my hair texture, I'm making sure not to cover up all of the white areas because those act as little highlights. You don't want to cover up all of your white or else it'll look too, what's the word? flat, one-dimensional. And I'm going to carefully close in this highlight a little bit because it's very strong and I don't want it to be quite that strong. And then as I smudge, I'm going to just lightly smudge over the white part of this abdominal highlight because it's not quite as bright as our actual reflection highlight. It's just a lighter area of the V. I'm going to smudge that in a little bit. I want to make sure I got his abdomen really standy outy, so I'm going to add his fuzzes in again right here against the back of his wing. And that's going to be pretty dark under here because that's underneath his leg. Here we go. Alright, now I'm going to work on this section. Needs a little more blackness, I think. Make those pale fuzzies stand out. Keep losing these tiny fuzzes I'm putting in here. Gotta make sure not to work too long on that or else I'll take up too much time. Alright, now I'm gonna darken your head up a little bit around that eye. Making sure to keep that highlight that I saw at the very base there. I want to make sure that still pops out pretty well. Now I'm going to try and make a nice dark line on the underside of these antennae to make them look nice and solid. There we go. Give it a little bit more definition. Going into the face there. Alright, let's see what I can do with this yellow section here. Looks like his yellow comes up a little bit more right there. So I'm going to erase these fuzzes and add in just a little bit more of a fuzz line right above his head, heading back toward his back. There we go. Yeah, I like how that lifts it up a little bit. Couple more hair textures. I think I'm going to bring out my 2H pencil again for these very light hair textures. He's got his lightest spot right there, so I'm going to keep that a nice highlight. And then I'm going to use this pencil because it's harder and it won't smear as hard to give little hair textures into this lightest area of my bee because I want those, even those light areas need to have dark spots and light spots. So I'm adding in the light spot right up here. Adding in some more fuzzy hairs sticking out with my thin pencil. There we go. And then darkening up this base just a little bit. Look like I lost a line right here. And then I'm going to darken up these feet, I think, a little bit more. Because they blend in with his body quite a lot in the photo. But I'm not going to make, when I go in and I darken these little areas of feet, I'm generally, unless it's in shadow, I'm generally not covering the whole shape in black. I'll cover parts of it in a darker black and then leave little bits of that mid-tone to shine through. It helps, gives your drawing just a little bit more depth. Even if you can't really see that represented in your reference photo, you really want to try and make sure that each little shape that you're creating has a highlight and a low light and a mid-tone. It just gives you so much more depth in your picture. Here we go. I'm actually pretty good about this bee. I think this bee is pretty cute. Oh man, what does a Japanese emperor caterpillar look like? Oh, the wings are super tricky. It's because they're at it's because they're at such a strange angle. Let's see if I can get my eraser out here. See, I already made it too wide here at the end. See how this rounds out like that? That's actually not a good thing for this wing, because you're only really seeing his wings all, see, that already looks a little better. It's all tucked down because he's laying there. So it's just an awkward angle because all you're really seeing is the side of his wing. Ooh. And then swoosh it out a little that way, I think, there. Not quite so much. There we go. It's a little better. Yeah, that's a strange angle to draw those wings at. Here we go. I'm gonna have to look up that Emperor caterpillar though, because that sounds awesome. Alright, I think I'm gonna draw in a little bit more of these leaves while I'm here. Drawing some more of this vine. I think I'll use a lighter pencil though. Here, how about a 2B? Let's zoom in on this bee a little bit while we're here. Let's see if I can zoom in on this bee. Boop. How's that look? Is that zoomed in? Man, I need to get a better camera for sure. You're a cute bee though. Hi, cute bee. Alright, now I'm just gonna start drawing in little bits of this flower here. This got a little bud right there. Covered up by these larger buds down here for the most part. Just adding in some little flower shapes for my honey. What is this? It's honeyweed milk vine. That's what it was called. I always mix that name up so that I get it kind of a little wrong. And these have open flowers, so I'm gonna draw those going off to the side a little bit. There's an open flower down here, doing its little wobbly flower petal thing here. And you are clinging to this flower right here. It's pretty open, so I'm gonna open that flower up a little bit. Open this little flower up a little bit. It's a little dark in there. I think I'll erase that. Oops. Nearly dropped my pencil. And this flower is what our little dude is clinging to here. So, pretty cool. And they've got a neat vein pattern, but they're not all that important at the moment. Just do a couple little flips. I like this leaf pattern. It goes wonk, wonk. Just drawing in some little vines. It's a very viney plant, this honeyweed. Most people think of this as a weed, and it is because it grows very prolifically, but I always keep some around in my garden somewhere where it's not gonna get in the way, because the monarch caterpillars really like it. And I really like monarch butterflies, so I suppose it's a fair trade. Alright. I'm gonna do a little bit of shading in here with my flowers. I'm gonna start off by just darkening up all of the area around my little flower buds here so that they pop out from the inside of the flower. Because I don't really care, honestly, about all of the little inside bits of this flower. I'll maybe indicate them with some tone values later on, but mostly I just want these little flower buds to pop out. This has a little more tiny bits here at the top. But they're a little darker too, because they're in the background here. Swooshing this up a little bit. I'm not being super careful about keeping the graphite out of the flower buds, because then I'll just, you know, shade them, add in my little highlights, and make sure these bottom stems are in there, because you can actually see those. And then we'll just add a couple little indications of stems in here with just a little bit of a value. Go. Now let's see. These flower buds have little petals and little green parts, like any flower bud, I guess. So I'm just gonna start adding in a couple little slanty lines to sort of represent the green part of these little flowers. And these guys are white, so actually going to be pretty nice, because I just have to shade in these little leaf bits and then leave these mostly white, and they'll look just fine. I'm just making some little sort of X motions to get the angle of this flower bud in here. This one's got a flower bud too. Just some tiny little V's, X's, just indications of these little flower buds actually come from somewhere and aren't just sprung up. And I'm making sure all of my little darker value indications for these buds are all pointed inward toward the center of the flower. There we go. And then I'm gonna shade in without even adding anything to my smudge stick. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of shading at the bottom of each of these buds where I've marked in the green parts. Just sort of smudge that in. And then I'm going to darken up the very center of this flower even more. Just really quickly. I've only got like 10 minutes left of this live stream, so just a little floofs here and there. Outline these buds again. Don't want to lose that bud shape here. Alright, I think I'm gonna very quickly sort of shade in this background here. Man, 1 hour is not a lot of time for a drawing. You may think so if you don't draw very often, but 1 hour is not very much time. Now I'm going to use my smudge stick in the opposite direction that I actually used my pencil, because that'll help create a smoother effect. I wasn't super careful with my shading being even. Loose drawings, trying to be looser. I just want my bee to stand out at this point, so. You're mostly all leaf. I want to shade you. I think I'm just going to lightly shade this around the bee, just so my paper's not white mostly. I want those highlights to really pop out on the bee. So you don't want to leave white on your paper if you can help it, because then your highlights won't pop out as much. After the live stream is complete, I think I'll go in and actually shade in these leaves a little bit so that they look better. Oh, it has antlers? That's so cute. I think I might have seen a picture of that emperor caterpillar on the internet somewhere. It seems very memeable. I'm definitely looking them up though. Japanese, here I'm gonna write it down. Japanese emperor. How do you spell emperor? I don't even know. Emperor. Oh, I got it right. Caterpillar. Look up. Because that sounds adorable. I need to draw that. It sounds way too cute. Give you little fuzzies back here. I'm going to shade you a little darker. I think I can get used to drawing fast. I don't know, I've always drawn very slowly, so I'm not sure, but I could get used to it, I suppose. This has been a great way to wrecked everyone's plans. But yeah, I haven't been feeling super motivated to get out and draw because I had so many plans coming up that got all messed up. And my art class got canceled and all my mural commissions got canceled, and it's been quite a crazy ride so far this year. This year has been crazy. See, you look lighter and then you look darker again. So let's darken you up just a little. Don't want to get our bee messed up here. A lot of the times I'll do the background before I do the main feature, but for this I wanted to obviously get the bee done because that was the point of this video, and then get to the background if I had any time. I guess I did have a little time. I'm actually sort of pleased with myself that I managed to get that bee drawn so quickly. See, now I've done this little bit of shading here. I can go back in with my eraser and just like floof out some fuzzies here, fuzzy highlights here. Once this gets darker, it'll look even better. I got someone else stopped by to the chat and they asked me if I was in the Mirrorverse, but I do not have a goatee. That's what I meant. That's how you can tell that someone is from the Mirrorverse. You spell goatee like it's an actual goat. I don't know. I may have misspelled goatee. Don't hold it against me. Alright, this leaf down here is much lighter. I'm going to use my eraser to fill in these white flowers again here, because I lost them in my shading. But now you can see them better, because I have some shading in there too. Honeybee. See, and if you have the time, you know, you can go through and carefully shade around all these flower buds, make them look really nice. I do not have the time, so. See, he has some more flowers in this picture too, but ran out of time to draw flower buds. There's some more right here. Just draw a couple of quick little buds in here for indicators. Indicators of the flower. There's a flower here, don't forget me. There we go. Oh, I pushed my eraser out too far. Whoop. Just gonna very lightly shade in this leaf here, because it's a bright colored leaf. And so are you, way here in the foreground, super light. And you're a vine, I think. I'm gonna make you a vine even if you're not. There you go. And if the world comes tumbling down, I think he needs a little more shading around here. I was being cautious around his face. Didn't want to smudge my fuzzies. I can just very carefully get in there. I think I'll add these veins back in like this. Where'd this one go? Like this. And then like that. Woof, woof, woof. Just some veins. Sorry, you guys, I've got this song called Honeybee stuck in my head. Even though this is not a honeybee, it is a bumblebee. Let's see. I think you should be darker so that you stand out a little bit more. And I want to draw that flower in, but I don't want to draw it in with my pencil. I want to draw it in with my eraser. I'm going to darken you up a little. There we go. Now I'm going to put that stem back in there, like so. And I'm going to use my eraser here to leaf in a couple of these little petals. Just like that. And another one going this way maybe. I think the leaf ends here actually, right about here. And then it's just the garden. This is all just garden behind here. You can't really see any of that. So I'm just gonna give it a little shading. I've never been very extra super careful with my shading, unless I'm going for a specific texture or certain dimensions, or portraits, I guess. Portraits, you gotta be super careful with the shading, because a tiny little difference in shadow can make it look like a whole different face. It's pretty crazy. Add a little dark spot to the sides of these buds here. Give them a little bit more dimension. Even your white shapes are gonna have, you know, colors and tone contrasts. They're just more subtle. And it is 3:30, so I am gonna call that my live stream drawing for this week. I think it turned out pretty good. I think this hour drawing could be alright. I don't really miss it. I still draw for hours and hours with more complicated drawings, but I think these are fun little sketches. I'm gonna definitely keep doing these. So let me know if you had a good time. If you decided to draw too, I would love to see your picture on my Discord. There's a link in the description. And even if you just wanna say hello, you're more than welcome to stop by. I could sit here for another hour just fine-tuning this and adding some shading. You can shade forever, really. I think I could just shade forever. With pencils especially. Pencils are so forgiving with shading. Adding a couple dark spots to my vine, because I said it was over, but here I still continue. Alright, for real, I'm stopping now. Thanks again for stopping by. Especially you, favorite snail. I really appreciate your support. And I will see you next week, hopefully. Goodbye.